What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Steelers Breakdown Podcast. Nick Farabaugh here with you guys, and I am joined by a good friend today, Tyler Forness, Forno, as I like to call him. How you doing, man?
Dude, I'm great. I'm so excited to get all the food pictures from you when you're in Ireland because there's going to be some bonkers stuff that you're going to get to try, and I'm going to be very jealous.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see how it's going to look like. It's going to be my first time ever in Europe, so that'll be fun. I'm literally going to fly right after this, so it'll be a ton of fun to be over there. I will be over there with a lot of different beat writers and people from Minnesota as well that I'm looking forward to seeing. But Forno, I want to talk about the Vikings. After all, there is still a football game being played over there, despite me being excited to see Ireland. Um, this is a fascinating football team to me. The Vikings, between the Carson Wentz storyline, Brian Flores being a madman of a defensive schematics guy, O'Connell being a really good coach. It's a pretty good roster too. What's kind of the rundown on the field right now in Minnesota about this football team?
It's a lot of up and down. Obviously, the defense has been great through 3 games. Allowed 24 to the Bears, but the offense was so anemic. It was just like, okay. And 7 of that was technically garbage time. And then even though the Falcons kind of dominated them on the ground, they held them to 22 points, which it did not feel like that watching the game live. It just felt like they got obliterated. And then the Bengals game, it was like a switch flipped, but they also got Harrison Smith back. And even though he's about 37 years old, he's not the athlete he used to be. He's so smart. And Brian Flores' defense is predicated on intelligence because they do so much pre and post snap shifting and disguising of coverages and sending all these crazy blitzes. Half of the stuff they just call in the moment because they're waiting to see how the offense reacts before they make their move. It's an incredible game of chess with grandmasters all across the board. That's one of the reasons why Josh Mattel's got his extension. It's why they've prioritized the players that they have. It's not just talent. They want the brains too, and it's working really well. The vibe is always going to center on quarterback. Carson Wentz was fine on Sunday, but he didn't do anything to outright say, hey, I should be the guy. But of course, one of the beat writers asked about if they're 100% committed to starting McCarthy. And it's sparked quite a bit of controversy and discussion. And I just want McCarthy to be healthy and get back out there so we can kind of end it. He provided a baseline of play. Carson Wentz to me is a top 5 backup in the NFL. And I quantify that as not a guy that's going to be a starter eventually. Like Jackson Dart just got named the starter in New York. I didn't classify him as a backup. He just happened to be second string. Carson's a backup, and he's kind of put himself in that position. And he's got a resume of very high level play, and also got a resume of incredible inconsistency. But that high level play can really get you somewhere in like a 2 to 3 game sample. And I think we saw that on Sunday where he was just solid. And that's all he needed to be because the team put up 48 points against the Bengals. So the vibe is very mixed, but optimistic.
Yeah, it's weird. The Steelers, meanwhile, are 2-1, but are coming off a win that certainly wasn't. It was weird, right? 5 turnovers. The defense still got kind of torched, but they made some big plays. The offense has been great in the red zone, but have had struggles. Otherwise, it's a weird mix. It's this is a weird
Mm-hmm.
matchup. I feel like, and it gives me this feel of like a very unpredictable game, especially given the travel and everything that's added into this, plus the new additions that are going to be coming in. You know, you talk about Darisaw on the Vikings, probably going to play the full game this week
Mm-hmm.
rather than splitting it like he did last week. For the Steelers, it sounds like there's a real chance to Sean Elliott and Joey Porter Jr. come back. So this will be the first time since like the second drive of the season, if both those guys are back, that the Steelers will have their full secondary plus Jabril Peppers now mixed in there too. So talk to me about Jordan Addison, I think, and Darisaw and how they change the complexion of this offense. Because I think people might look at the Bears game and think, and the Falcons game and say, oh, this offense isn't, it's high powered, but they also weren't at full power. And now they're
Mm-hmm.
going to get Darisaw back on the left side. Probably going to have Ryan Kelly, I'm guessing, at center. He wasn't there last week. And then they're also going to have Jordan Addison. So they're going to have 4 pretty good receivers to also utilize.
Yeah. Darisaw is the engine behind this offense. We can talk about quarterback, we can talk about Justin Jefferson, but his presence alone changes everything. He can manhandle Trey Hendrickson on his own. Now, Hendrickson still was able to get a little bit of pressure, but just him being there makes a difference because it makes the left guard's job, Donovan Jackson, who's actually going to miss this game. He had wrist surgery from a injury that he suffered against the Falcons, but he played against the Bengals. I'm trying to get answers on it because it's just a little odd. But his presence just makes everybody's life easier. So you can just let him sit on an island. He got a lot of comparisons early on in his career to Trent Williams, and I think they're apt because their play styles are very similar. They're very nasty, incredibly athletic, and you can just leave them alone and they're going to be just fine. Now, Blake Brandel's going to get the start at left guard. Last year, in 6 full games with Christian Darrisaw playing next to him, he allowed 6 pressures. The 10 games that he played with no Christian Darrisaw next to him, he allowed 36. It's just another example of what Darrisaw means and how they can run their offense through him. And the running game took a significant spike up with him too, because hey, let's just run zone or power or counter with Darrisaw and Donovan Jackson leading the way, and it's just guys mauling people. So the Darrisaw impact is real. I think Jordan Addison's impact is going to come twofold. One, it's going to come with quick game stuff. They love to do a lot of those like designed motion speed outs to him, just eat up some yardage really quick. And he's their deep ball receiver. Jefferson's so good at everything, but I don't classify him as a deep ball guy. It's not his specialty, but he can do it. His specialty is being a route running savant and getting incredible separation in those intermediate levels of the field. Addison's just going to stretch you. And one interesting thing about this offense is whenever they run a clear out, which they run dagger a lot, that clear out is in play to get the ball. And that is an element that defenses need to prepare for, because all of a sudden, like last year, Sam Darnold would just be like, screw it. And he'd just throw it up and Addison would catch it. And all of a sudden it's a 50-yard gain, first down. And it's like, why are you throwing the clear out on dagger? It's because Kevin O'Connell's a psychopath. And I mean that in a complimentary way. He wants those deep shots. He chases and craves them like an addict. And with Addison back in the fold, he does something that Thielen can't. Thielen is now a short to intermediate only guy. He is not going to get you deep. And honestly, he's struggled the first couple games, but Jalen Naylor is getting open on everybody. So you have those guys and then TJ Hawkinson to deal with. It's a lot for any defense. And with some of the struggles that I've seen of the Steelers so far, it could get really interesting, especially if they want to do a lot of man-to-man, because their offense is predicated on great route runners, and that could get really interesting in that 10 to 20-yard range.
It's been fascinating with the Steelers defense because of the fact that it's hard to evaluate individual players given how much they have hurt themselves for miscommunication, which I think is another kind of wrinkle in all this. O'Connell probably has things dialed up to try and stress the communication in zones. They blew two coverages against the Patriots. It was better this week, but still not fully fixed. And 2, they let Hunter Henry go, literally uncover it up the seam. You would hope that things can get fixed here a little bit. But I want to kind of talk about this defense now. So I'll be fully real. I think some of the personnel that this defense has, to some people, maybe doesn't stand out right away. But you look and it's pretty solid. I mean, Van Ginkel and Grenard are a good duo. Mm-hmm. You look at the corners, Byron Murphy has turned into a really nice player. They have a lot of good players, but this scheme is kind of really what people are going to focus on. So tell me about this defense, kind of this weird kind of up and down mentality that Brian Flores has, where he kind of shows blitz but doesn't always send it. And there's one play last week he literally showed cover 0, then cover 1, then cover 2. It was insane. And how the chess game works with Aaron Rodgers. I know that last year Flores had Rodgers in the device because he had 3 picks in that game. But just talk to me about that and how you see that matching up.
So it's really interesting. Core concepts of what Brian Flores likes to do are kind of similar to Bill Belichick. If you get pressure, everything's fine. And that's the way he's kind of built this unit. When Flores came in 23, he was taking over a team that was kind of a disaster on defense. Everybody remembers the 13-4 Vikings in 22. They were kind of fluky. They won a lot of games that they shouldn't have. And one of the big reasons why they shouldn't have won those games was the defense was bad. And it was like, if you or I were to go out and call a Vic Fangio defense, we'd probably be pretty bad at it. Vic Fangio's great at it. Nobody else is. Nobody else has quite figured out how to call that defense. And that was honestly the biggest reason why Ed Donatello ended up failing. But he comes in and they have to completely revamp the front. They have Daniil Hunter, but Hunter, a phenomenal player. He's a better player than Jonathan Grenard. But Grenard is a much better fit because of how he likes to play, how he can shoot off the ball and really be impactful quickly instead of Hunter, where he's a little more methodical in his pass rush, which is great for what D'Amico Ryans wants to do in Houston. It's not for Flores. So they made a lot of those changes and they bulked up the edge room in 24 with Grenard, Van Ginkel, and then drafting Dallas Turner, who's been great this year. And then this offseason, they brought in Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, and they have emerging guys in Jalen Redmond, who is one of the more underrated defenders in this league now, and Levi Drake Rodriguez. They have really made those positions a focus. This offseason will be corner because Isaiah Rodgers had the best game in PFF history on Sunday afternoon, the first ever 99.9 grade, and the first ever player to have 2 defensive touchdowns and 2 forced fumbles in the same game. But the big thing is, if you can protect Rodgers, which I know has been a problem, especially with Broderick Jones, you can attack this defense, but you have to protect. And the thing is, now that you have those defensive tackles, the Vikings are sending 4 guys a lot more often, and they're still getting pressure. So now instead of 5 or 6 guys in coverage, it's 7. And that eases the coverage burden quite a bit because Grenard, Van Ginkel, Hargrave, and Allen are getting home. So if you can protect, that's honestly the only way that you can beat this defense. Either protect or Rodgers has to be Jared Goff in quick game. Those are the 2 ways to do it. I don't know where the Steelers are at running the ball, but if you can block like you protect, that's another way too, because not everybody can block like the Falcons did. And well, Bijan also aura farmed the whole game, and he ran for almost 150. So it's the ways to beat this team are very simple, but it's incredibly difficult to do so.
Yeah, I mean, Steelers, I think, have averaging 2.8 yards per carry right now, but their success rates are better than that.
Okay.
They do have some. Jalen Warren has been outstanding. I will say that. So if they can get him some space, the Steelers feel like they're on the precipice of maybe figuring out the run game. They're like one block away every week, but this week it kind of took another step forward. They started the game against the Patriots, against what I think is a really good Patriots front with Milton Williams and Barmore and Key and guys like Harold Landry there, and they depleted them on the first 2 drives. I mean, that's why they drove the ball down the field. They ran the ball at will, and then it kind of fell off as the rhythm of this offense fell off. Quick game, big part of Steelers game. They have loved quick game screens and forcing you to tackle. But this offensive line has struggled with stunts, 4-man stunts. The Seahawks got a ton of pressure just off 4-man stunts. And it's not even like crazy pressure looks. It's just looping the 3 tech outside. They haven't picked them up. So I'm worried about it. I'm very worried about Rodgers' protection going there. If there's one thing you can see, I like to pose this question just because, the weaknesses sometimes can burden under the surface of some teams. If there's a way the Steelers defense to you can slow down this Vikings offense, what would it be?
Press the wide receivers, press and be physical. You have Joey Porter Jr., who's big, long armed corner. You have Jalen Ramsey, who is more than capable of playing press in his own right. The only way to really disrupt these wide receivers, other than just staying with them, is you have to disrupt the timing. You have to disrupt them in their routes, and getting in their face and being physical has really been the only proven way to consistently stop them. Justin Jefferson, he can maneuver around physicality somewhat, but I remember back to, I think it was the 22 game against the Green Bay Packers where Jair Alexander had a safety over the top and he just punched Jefferson in the mouth all game long. Jefferson had like 2 catches for like 20 yards, and the Packers won by like 30. That's the way to do it. You have to commit to it. You have to have the dudes to do it. And if the Steelers feel comfortable enough with Jalen Ramsey and Joey Porter Jr. on the outside, man on man, that's probably the best way. Otherwise, you have to get pressure. And this Vikings offensive line is getting Ryan Kelly back. Blake Brandle's great when he has Darisaw next to him. And of course, Darisaw, we're going to see TJ Watt against Brian O'Neill. O'Neill is one of the more underrated right tackles in the league. He's probably a top 5 right tackle, but he doesn't get the publicity because guys like Lane Johnson and Penei Sewell exist. And he is right behind those guys. He's an incredible football player. So that's going to be a matchup to watch. Other than that, Cam Hayward's got to be able to make an impact. And I know you and I talked about that the other day. He's got to be able to get Blake Brandel off of his spot. And I think Alex Highsmith is out with that ankle injury
Yep.
still, right?
Yep.
That's going to make Darisaw's job a little easier on the outside. He's going to be able to do a little chipping on that interior, which is going to make Brandel's job even easier. And Ryan Kelly can slide over. So if you find a way to get pressure on Carson Wentz, or you can disrupt the timing with physicality on the outside, those are the two easiest ways to stop this passing game, because Kevin O'Connell is going to chase shots. He wants to hit that 10 to 15 yard intermediate range, and he wants to do it consistently. So you have to figure out how to stop it. The two ways are physicality and pressure.
I will say Nick Herbig was unbelievable last week.
Ooh.
He has really come on as a rising star for the Steelers. 8 pressures, a forced fumble, a sack. He created about 2 or 3 sacks, man. I mean, he was Will Campbell could not block Nick Herbig all game. So I am actually I'm fascinated just from like a one-on-one viewpoint of what Herbig does against Darisaw. I think that's a really fun challenge for Herbig, given where he's been on this upward trend. As for what the Steelers are doing, they're blitzing over 40% of the time right now. I think it's the 4th highest blitz rate in football. They're going to send heat, and I think they probably are going to play some press up on you. Darius Slay's going to probably play outside, though, as my guess, and they're going to try and match Slay up against Addison probably more often than not. He might travel with them even. We'll see how that goes. He's also banged up, so maybe we see more Brandon Eccles. I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see that chess match. For the Steelers offense, does anyone on this offense scare you in terms of, let's say the Steelers do end up, let's just say, okay, this O-line maybe does have their kind of gelling performance, the Steelers' young O-line, and they step up and can protect a little bit. From the weapons group, they have the 3 tight ends, they have Metcalf, Calvin Austin's had a good start, Jalen Warren's been really good. What from the weapons group do you think can hurt Minnesota for the Steelers?
Oh, it's DK Metcalf, and it's not a question. The one thing about this Vikings cornerback group, you have Jeff Okudah, who's got decent size. He's like 6'1", 195 pounds, but it's Jeff Okudah. The idea of him is phenomenal, but he's just an okay player. And the Vikings use him as their cornerback 3. He only played 16 snaps in opener, missed the second game with a concussion, and played a lot in week 3, but a lot of that was garbage time where they took out Byron Murphy Jr. and Isaiah Rodgers, who are the top 2 guys. But those guys are 5'10 and 5'11. And you have a guy like Metcalf who's big, physical, and can win at the catch point and win those tough battles. That's going to be the way to beat these corners. Isaiah Rodgers did have probably his best play of the game against the Bengals, was a PBU on a fade route against T. Higgins, which in itself was impressive enough. But if you want to beat it, you just attack downfield and use DK Metcalf against these smaller corners. Now, is Rodgers going to be willing to throw those balls? I know there's been some concerns about him really wanting to attack vertically, but that's the way to do it. Bully these corners, get DK to box them out, and just overpower them because they don't have size and strength. And that is exactly what Metcalf has, because I think Rodgers can run with him. I think Murphy can keep up relatively well. But when it comes to a boxing match, they're done. Then that is going to be the easiest way for the Steelers to attack the secondary.
And my guess is they're going to play a lot of 12. They've done a lot of 12 personnel stuff. I think they lead the league in 12 personnel right now. So a lot of Muth, a lot of Jonnu, a lot of Darnell. But the real star of the offense, I mean, still, they're trying to get Metcalf more. He only had 3 receptions last week. I know that's a big focus for them this week. From people I've talked to, is this, they want this to be the DK Metcalf show. So we'll see. If he has a big game, I think the Steelers have a chance here. But I think it's going to be a really tough game for the Steelers, just given matchup things. And even if Elliott and Porter play, they might be on a pitch count because they're banged up. And it might be a tough one for the Steelers, but we'll see if they can kind of fix their woes and have a bit of a get together game. All right, Tyler, thanks for coming on, man. Tell them where they can follow you, read your stuff, watch your stuff, all that great stuff.
Absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter, 3040. I am the Vikings beat writer for A to Z Sports. And I also cover the Florida Gators and NFL draft. I host my own Viking show, which you will be making an appearance on. We're going to record that in a few minutes. Called the Real Forno Show. We go live every Monday and Thursday night at 6:05 Central Time. And then we do a bunch of other stuff. We have the earliest Vikings post game show. We're live at the 2 minute warning, which is a fun little gimmick. And then I have an X's and O's show with Luke Braun where we just do film nerd stuff, but we cater it for all audiences. So even if you're a newbie, you can still have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, I love football season, man. This is just a great time.
It is. It is. Thanks for coming on, man. Folks, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notification bell for this. Read the stuff over at penlab.com/Steelers. And you know where to follow me at Farabaugh FB on Twitter. I'll have more coming from Ireland this week. And I'm really looking forward to talking with you guys then. And I will see you over there.